going to make you a co-host, so if you need to do anything or...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You guys are in your market center?
We are. So you can actually see me. So we have 185 agents.
Okay, great.
And probably about 40 of them indicated they were possibly going to come join in some capacity. My guess is it'll probably be a fair amount on Zoom. We also had team meeting day today, so it might be in person as well.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome.
So right now I already have 3 in person, but yeah, so we'll probably give it like a minute or two because realtor time and
absolutely.
thing. So are you guys back in the office?
We are. So New York had quite the shutdown when COVID hit, as I'm sure you saw on the news.
Yeah.
And our offices were kind of like the epicenter of everything that was happening. So we shut down on March 23rd and we were working from home from then until like June 15th. Real estate was completely shut down in our area.
Okay.
No new transactions, nothing like that. So we jumped right into training in that time, but we've been back since June and yeah, we're running. You know, the New York market is crazy right now. We've got people getting like 80 offers per listing. But yeah, we're rocking and rolling, as I like to say.
Not anything I've had, but Sarah Rosshan's was in a mulch. They didn't get it over 100 offers.
Apparently we had over 100 offer.
That was a fire.
It's gotten crazy. I have agents that they can't even put their phones down because it's just nonstop, especially with the area that I'm in. So I'm on Long Island, for any of you that are familiar with my area. So a lot of people left New York City and are purchasing homes on the island. So our inventory is super low, but there's so many buyers that it's become so competitive and crazy. Yeah.
We were deemed essential the entire time. We did work from home for what were we, like a month-ish? About a little over a month, maybe a month and a half. We shut down right before or right around St. Patrick's Day, and we're back in the office by Cinco de Mayo. So
Oh, okay.
whatever that time frame was.
It was like Friday.
Yeah. But we were still doing business. We were still doing everything. It just was not in the office.
Yeah, we had like a full shelter in place type of mandate in our area. So we were not supposed to leave our homes. It's pretty crazy, but
yeah,
we were deemed essential.
Yeah.
But we couldn't leave for work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. We might as well get started. We have a fair amount on Zoom. We have a handful in person. So thank you guys for all joining. I brought in another tech trainer because apparently you're all bored with me or something. And I wanted to have someone else teach you a little bit about Facebook ads and how to use that to attract some, hopefully, listings and try to get some better return on investment for those Facebook ads that we're running, and then of course getting them on smart plans, right? So I have Sarah with us, and as you heard, she's from Long Island, and she is your market center tech trainer for 4 market centers, right?
So I am the tech and marketing coordinator for 1 office. However, we do all of our training with 4 offices. So I'm doing tech training for 4.
I couldn't remember what was the 4. I'm like, I know there was 4, but
yeah,
I don't have my notes with me, so that's my learning lesson. So I will turn it over to her. If you guys have questions, I'm sure she will gladly take them. So thank you, Sarah, and I'll turn over the floor to you.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Thank you for having me, and hello, everybody, those that I can't see in the room, and then everybody that's joining us on Zoom. Like she said, my name is Sarah. I am the tech and marketing coordinator for Keller Williams Greater Nassau in Garden City on Long Island in New York. And so today I'm here to talk to you guys about Facebook ad campaigns in Command. It's one of my favorite parts of the system. So the way that I like to train, I like to give you guys a breakdown of exactly what we're going to be doing, and then we'll walk through step by step, just following that format. That way you guys have a rundown kind of what we're going to go over. So the title of this course is Getting Leads for Less Than $1 a Day. So for those of you that maybe haven't run Facebook ad campaigns before or are just jumping into that arena, we have an exclusive partnership with Facebook at Keller Williams, meaning that we're able to use Facebook's data and algorithms to help us power our ad campaigns through the command system, which we'll get into in a little bit. Because we have this partnership and no other real estate agency has a partnership like this, we're able to get a really great return on investment. As Sammy was mentioning earlier, return on investment is going to be a big talking point today. Year to date, or lifetime to date is a better way of saying it, we've brought in 2.6 million leads to Keller Williams through the ad campaigns via Facebook, and each individual lead has cost the agent about $1.90 a piece. So roughly $2 per lead, which when you compare that to, say, Zillow, where you're running a Facebook ad campaign for $450 and you get 4 leads, there really is no comparison with that. So I know for a lot of people, jumping into marketing and social media can be a little overwhelming. So I'm here to help you guys see how easy it can be using command and how everything can pull directly into the system. So I'm going to be building a listing ad campaign with you guys. I have a listing from my market center here. One thing to say as you go into this, that's another thing I should mention. The lights are broken in my office. So if they go off, that's just because they're broken. So I have to go like that. My agents make fun of me all the time. They talk about making a drinking game to me waving around. So one thing to mention when we're talking about ad campaigns is that there is no exact formula that is going to give you the result that you're looking for. So it's not like do X, Y, and Z and you'll get A, you know what I mean? So it's a learning curve and it's a trial by fire type of situation. You're never going to get the perfect ad campaign on the first shot. You're always going to have to go back and readjust and look at the data and run a little bit of a diagnostic on what you've done to make sure that you're utilizing the tool to the best of its ability. So keep that in mind. So like I said, we're going to build a listing ad campaign. I don't necessarily have a formula for you. However, I do have wording that I've noticed over time and phrasing that I use in marketing material that seems to have a positive impact on the return. So I'll be showing you some of those tips and tricks. And then what I've done is I've talked to one of my agents that is using this part of the system very effectively. He's run, I think, like 30 campaigns in his lifetime in command. I think it was like 6 this year so far, and he's had great return. So we're actually going to go into his command so that we can look at the conversion, because that's an incredibly important part when you're planning out your marketing. You need to look at the results. You need to look at the return and see what type of marketing you should be investing in the future, because at the end of the day, building out material like this is investing in your business, and that's an important way to look at it. So with that being said, if you have questions for me, feel free to raise your digital hand, put them in the chat box. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. And if at any point you need me to repeat something, if I'm talking too fast because I'm from New York and we talk fast, let me know and I'll definitely adjust with that. And let's just dive right in. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and we're going to head over to command. I get this question sometimes when I train too. This little thing that I have right here on my Google Chrome is called Momentum. It's an extension that you can add to your Google Chrome. So instead of having Google pop up when you open up Google Chrome, it will have this page with a beautiful nature photo usually, and it has a little quote down here at the bottom, and you give Momentum your intention each day. I know this has nothing to do with command or, you know, converting leads, anything like that, but I think it's a great thing that you could incorporate into your business to keep yourself productive. All right, so we're going to head over to command, and I'm sure you know the spiel. Google Chrome is the best for command, and so are desktops and laptops. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do when we're building an ad campaign, actually, you know what I'm also going to do? I'm going to open up my Facebook so that we can look at what an ad campaign on Facebook looks like. All right, so here is my Facebook, and I'm going to scroll through and let's find an ad. There you go. Okay, so here's an ad for a store that I shopped at last week. It's called Shein. And you can tell that it's an ad because it says sponsored underneath the name. So you'll see here that we've got the name of the company, the word sponsored. some information about it, and then some graphics, some photos, and then a button for me to interact with. This is what we're going to be building within Command. So it's roughly going to have the same look as this ad here. So we'll keep this up as kind of something to go back to so you guys can understand what it will look like real time. One thing to remember when you run a Facebook ad campaign, you yourself are probably not necessarily going to see the ad campaign pop up on your news feed. Even if you live within the geographical radius that we'll set, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, you may not see it. I get questions all the time, people calling me saying, I'm running an ad campaign, I haven't seen it yet, so it's not working. That's not the way that the ad campaign works. We're going to be targeting people based on geographic location and interests. And they don't target you because obviously you're not going to pay yourself to see the property. That's kind of the thinking behind it. So we're going to head over to Command. And so the first step with a listing ad campaign is we want to build a listing landing page. So for those of you that don't know, a landing page is a standalone website that we can build out here in Command, and they can have a variety of different purposes. There's, download my app landing pages, testimonial landing pages, but specifically we're going to build a listing landing page that will show them all of the information about a specific listing, which will be the listing that we're using for the ad. Now, the reason that this is the first step in this entire process is because when we get into the actual formation of the ad, we're going to need to attach a URL to this button right here. And if someone, for instance, in our ad, we're going to be using a button that says learn more. If someone sees a listing and they're interested in going to see it, and they see a button learn more, you'd have to imagine that that learn more button is going to take them somewhere online where they can learn more. So we're going to build that page first. So it's kind of, a little backwards, but that's just the way I like to do it so I don't get stopped up when I'm doing the campaign itself. All right, so for our listing landing page, we're going to head over to the consumer section right here. And they recently switched the order of these. So if you've been using the consumer section, take note, landing pages was first, it's now second. So I have some people that accidentally start building it on their website. So just make sure you make note of that. So I'm going to click on landing pages, and we're going to click create a new page as a landing page. So the reason we're doing a landing page is because this is where the capability is to put in the listing. We can't put in the listing directly onto the website. We could put it in the featured listing section. However, we want to have a full landing page. And now this is just what I've seen that performs well for me on my ad campaigns. I have agents that use their agent website as the lead follow-up button that we were just talking about, and that works for them too. This is just what I see that works well. So we're going to do as a landing page, and we're going to jump right in. So the first thing that I like to do, I'm a very organized person. It's important to me to make sure that my business is in a very straight line. It's easy for me to take care of. I'm going to rename the landing page right now so that in the future, let's say that this ad does really well and I want to run it again, or let's say I want to put this landing page link on my social media just as an organic post. I don't have to spend 20 minutes going through the 200 landing pages I have. I can tell just by the address. So this is the address of the property that we're working with today. You don't have to do the whole thing. I'm just going to leave it at Garden City. The reason that this is only for you, nobody else is going to see it. It's just helpful for you when you're looking back at your business, or if you're trying to, duplicate something you've already done, to have that note. So here is the body of our landing page. So we're actually going to be building the website over here in this big white section. This left side over here, these are called widgets. And these widgets all serve a different purpose for the landing page. So I could do a whole class on landing pages, and I have, and definitely if you're interested in seeing something like that, you can always shoot me an email. I'll provide that later and you can watch one of these classes. But just as a rule of thumb when it comes to a landing page, the purpose of a landing page is to give a consumer a very specific amount of information, and very specific information at that. So at no point should you really ever drag all of the widgets onto one landing page, because it kind of defeats the purpose of the landing page itself. Now that's just, something that I've noticed. If you are gung-ho on, bringing them all over, that's fine. All right, so let me wait to turn my lights on. And so with that, there, just like with the ad campaign, there is no correct formula for a listing landing page. These are just the widgets that I use. I see a question in the chat regarding the purpose of a landing page though. Why couldn't you just direct them to your KW agent site instead of to the listing itself? That's a great point. You absolutely could do that. So what you would do in that sense, or what I would do, is I'd head over to my website. I'd pull up the listing. So that's 24 Rockaway Avenue. So here's the property. And then I would just grab this link. So you could absolutely do that, Stacy. That's a great point. I like to have the landing page because not only am I trying to get someone to purchase this property, but this ad is going to target anybody with real estate habits in the area that I choose. And let's say that a seller, a potential seller, someone thinking about selling their home interacts with the ad. I want to show them my value in the fact that I've built a custom website just for this listing. So that's why I like to do the landing page as opposed to just grabbing the link like this. But, you know, like I said, to each their own. If this works for you, go for it. This is a little extra work, what we're doing with the landing page, but I do see that it does, you know, benefit the ad itself. Does that make sense? Okay. Usually I take silence as a yes. So I'm going to stick with that method. Yep. Perfect. All right. So back to the landing page. There is no, you know, perfect formula, but this is just what I think makes the most sense. First thing I'm going to grab is the branded header. And so to bring things over to the left, all you have to do is click on the widget you're working with, drag it over and release. So for those of you that are on laptops, I would recommend, especially if you have issues using your trackpad sliding things, investing in a Bluetooth mouse. It'll really make a difference, especially when you're doing like things like this or designs in Command. You can get pretty frustrated pretty quickly using the trackpad. So that's just a little, you know, tip of the trade. So once we have the branded header in, I'm going to grab the listing widget. And then this green line on the left side of the screen that we see here, that's indicating to me where this widget that I'm holding is going to fall. So if I wanted it to be above, I would have to bring it above so that the green line moves. But I'm working from the top down, so I'm going to put it right below here. So here's the listing widget. All we're going to have to do is put in the MLS number into this section when we configure it, and then everything else is going to fill in. So you don't have to go back and forth to your MLS and bring over the photos, bring over the details, anything like that. They make it super simple. As you get comfortable, back to Stacy's question, as you get more comfortable building these landing pages, it's really only going to take you about 2 to 3 minutes to do. And that's for anybody, even if you're not tech savvy, because this is a rhythm. You'll get into a rhythm of doing this so that it becomes second nature when you're going through it. But again, if you would rather use this pre-made, already branded to you listing on our websites, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this widget. And the bottom, just so you know, of the listing widget is this map view right here. So after that, I'm going to bring in a lead form. And I get this question a lot. People ask me, especially if they've got experience with Facebook ads before, they say, Sarah, why would you choose to bring in a lead form if we know that this button is going to grab their lead information? And I say, great question. But let's say that this ad targets Sammy. She gets targeted based on the algorithm that she would be interested in this. And let's say it's not her taste, but her cousin is looking in the same area and it would be perfect for her. Sammy could actually send the landing page link that opens up to her cousin. Now that cousin's information would not be captured by the ad. However, she would be able to put in her information here and then I would still get that lead into my command. So that's why you want to have the ability to put information in whenever you can, because you never know when it's going to be the right time for that specific consumer to give over their information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So after the lead form, the last one that I pop in is the legal footer. Just to make sure compliance wise, I know every state has different compliance things. For us, we've got, you know, specifics of market center address and things like that. So I like to throw this at the bottom just to make sure I'm covered.
And you're doing that as well.
Yeah, you never know. So I'm going to, before I start configuring the widgets, let's just take a look at the layout and see how we feel. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's a pretty simple landing page, a simple website. You know, very often when people get sent to real estate sites and there's an about me, a testimonial, my portfolio, and all this stuff, they get a little too overwhelmed, especially if they're in the buying process, especially in my market right now, because I don't know your market specifically. Our market is very hot right now, low inventory, lots of buyers. So it's very, very stressful. So we don't want to overwhelm them too much. The other thing that I like to do as I build both the ad, which we'll do in a few minutes, but the landing page, is I like to filter between or switch between a desktop view, which is this one, a tablet view. So this would be like on an iPad or a Surface or whatever the case may be, and then the mobile view. Now the mobile view is much more squeezed in than the actual phone. This is an estimation. I like to do this because I want to make sure that no matter where they're viewing my material, whether it's the ad or the landing page, it's comfortable. And we have a little more customization when we get into the ad, but I like to do that with every single part of the ad campaign itself. All right, so this looks pretty good. The only thing that's
Quick
missing.
question here.
Sure.
When we're doing these landing pages and we drag the things over that we want, you know, the sections of it that we want, is there, if we decide to delete something or we want it in a different order, I've had trouble doing that. Is that possible to do, or am I just not figuring it out?
So do you mean before you publish or after you publish?
Before. So like right now here, before you publish, say you want to put, not that you do this, but say you want to put the document, the form, the lead form at the top above the listing.
Great question. So what you can do is you would go to the widget that you're looking to move and click on it, just a click. You don't have to do anything other than that. And you can use, I would use this arrow instead of this little directional, and this will move it up, or it's supposed to move it up. Let's see if we can do it this way. Yeah, it's not. But you could also grab it like this and then see the green line?
Okay.
Moving it.
I guess I never noticed that, you know, knowing how to get that little thing up there before, so I've always had to start over, and it's like, there's
Yeah.
a better way.
Yeah, and that could be frustrating for sure. Yeah, no problem.
I have
It's a great question. Sure,
I have another question.
sure.
For the second widget, like the listing widget, how do you like look up your listing on there so it's the correct one?
Good question. That's actually where we're going next.
Okay.
So in order to publish this, you'll notice that I can't click on publish page. And that's because Command's trying to save your butt. They don't want you to put out something that's not ready. And obviously this isn't my listing. So we need to configure the widgets over on the left side of the screen in order to publish. And we've got a configure widgets button here. So we're going to walk through each widget now and configure them. Some of them will take a little more time than others, but it's pretty much a very quick and easy process. So that was a great segue. I appreciate that. Any other questions before we move forward?
I don't think so.
Cool. Let me just look at the chat. I think we're good. All right. So I'm going to hit configure widgets, and I'm going to click on this back arrow so that I get this menu. So here are the widgets that we've put in the order that we've put them in. Our goal in this section is to turn them all green. Green means that this will be good to go. Now, some of them are already green. We still want to walk through them because, like I said, we want to ensure that the experience for the consumer is the best as possible. So you want to look through each part. If you're in a real rush, you could skip that step, but you know, for me, I like to give it a once over before I put it out there. So I'm going to start with the branded header and work my way down. So you can tell what widget we're working on because it will be highlighted in blue like you see here. So you can see that a lot of the information that is here is pre-populated, and that's because my marketing profile is complete in the settings section of my command. If it wasn't, I would have to bring in my headshot, put in my information, my phone number, and all of that fun stuff. One thing that you'll notice, and this I have in here as a placeholder, if you had a logo for your team or if you had a logo for your individual business, you could have that here, and that's where this would be. These are the 4 market centers I work with, so that's why I have it in that place. One thing that you could add to the branded header is a little bit of text right here. So if you wanted to make this a little more personal, you could put something in here. So you could say something like, super simple, welcome home. Obviously, they're clicking on this because they want to learn more about this home, so welcome home would be the perfect introduction to the landing page. Notice that you have a character limit in this header text, so you can't say something like open house this weekend from this time to that time. You're going to run out of space. So I like to keep it simple and just stick with like a welcome home. This home could be yours, your dream home awaits, something like that. Once I'm satisfied with all of the information here, and I'll actually turn off the team logo so that you can see what it looks like without the logo there, I'll hit save and apply, and it pops in like that. Looks good to me. Quick look, looks good. So now I'm going to head up here to the top right to the 1 out of 4 and click on the right arrow. So the question that we just had before was, how do we bring our listing in? Great question, and this is where we'll do it. So we're going to click Browse Listings, and we can search the listings here. In my opinion, I find it easiest to search by MLS number in Command because, you know, if we're working with 123 Main Street, there's probably tens of thousands of 123 Main Streets in the multiple listing service. So I have the MLS number here, so I'm going to grab it.
While you're grabbing it, I'll explain for ours. Because our North Star MLS uses abbreviations before the actual MLS number, you'll have to put in the full, I want to say it's NLST, I think. I can get you the exact, and then add the MLS number.
Got it. Okay, that's interesting.
Like the, you had like iCar on the other page. It was, for some reason, our MLS is weird.
Interesting. Good to know.
Yeah.
Everybody has different things, right? All
Yep.
right. So down here, this is the listing we're working with, 24 Rockaway Avenue. I'm going to hit select. Now, the only thing now that I have to do in the listing widget is choose the exterior photo or the photo that I want to be the header image. All of the other images will be populated into this carousel that functions off of a timer of 6 to 8 seconds. So every time a consumer sits stagnant on the carousel, it's going to slide through to be like, hey, look at me, look how beautiful I am, to get their attention back to the screen. So all I have to do, everything else is going to pull in, is I'm going to pick a photo to be the header image, and I'm going to choose the exterior. That's probably most common. You know, sometimes, especially in my market, we have a lot of condo co-ops apartments. In that case, you may do something more interior because you want to show off the specific unit. But with this is a single family home, so we will use the exterior. Same thing, save and apply. And here we go. So let's take a look at it. Here it is, looking good. All the details are pulling in, information about the property, that pretty little carousel slides through, further details and features, and a map view so that you can see exactly where it is located. So that looks good to me. I'm going to just give it a once over like this, see if anything looks funky. It is going to look a little different, especially when we get to this view. But remember, this does get warped a little bit. This is not the exact estimation, or this is an estimation of what it would look like on a phone. So it looks good to me.
Sarah, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So for coming soons, Command does not have that live. So if you wanted to start promoting your coming soon landing page, how would you do that if you can't get access to the listing at coming soon in Command?
Great question. So what you would do, and let's see if I can go, I don't know if I can go back in the avenue where I am right now. Let's see. I'm just gonna back out and we'll just start building a new one, and then I'll show you. So what you would do in this case, and I'm just gonna grab the listing widget and pull it over, is when you configure the widget, instead of, oh, they took it away. Look at that. They took it away. You used to be able to manually upload the photos.
Yeah.
I guess now we can no longer do that. And you are able to click on here, or you used to be able to click on here. So that is a great question for your regional tech trainer, or to put into answers.kw.com. Or you can also put in a support ticket to see what that is. I know in my market center, or in my market, there are very strict rules on advertising for coming soon. So maybe that's why this feature was taken. Maybe there are a lot of regions where that's kind of frowned upon, or it's an issue. So I don't have
the workaround that we can do. Usually what I tell people to do is use the video widget.
Okay.
And utilize any sort of video that you have created. Otherwise, if you click on content blocks, you
Uh-huh.
can manually add like one main image. It's not the most visually appealing like this is, but at least you could get it started so you have something to give.
Yeah.
I've seen people create flyers and put into that image content block.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah, for sure. I know that the New York City Market Center, that's in my core 4 of market centers that we work with, a lot of their listings don't get syndicated to MLS, so they don't get pulled in through command necessarily. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so previously what we were doing was, like I said, you were able to manually upload the photos, but the content block is a great suggestion. The only thing with the content blocks is it can be a little frustrating to bring them in and then find the photo and pop it in. That just might take a little more time. So maybe not a 3-minute build of a landing page.
No.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just going to quickly catch us up to where we were. Perfect. All right, so this is where we were. And we're basically done. And if you notice, this just turned blue because we can now publish the page because everything's filled out. The last 2 sections are the lead form and the legal footer. If your marketing profile is set up correctly and you've got all your information in, you probably don't have to do anything to this legal footer. With the lead form, the only thing that we can customize is this top text right here, interested, let's talk. So we can't change the order of these. We can't put in, you know, are you pre-approved, anything like that. So we have to kind of leave that as is. And I think interested, let's talk makes the most sense anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this page. And so now it's ready to go. You can see it's right here. If you want to do a little further customization to this link, you can change the URL at the back end of it. So if you want it to look a little less like a robot put it together, you could put part of the address. I have a lot of agents do that. Totally up to you. All right, and I think this is probably one of the most underdone steps in this whole process. Click on the landing page and make sure it pulls in correctly. I've had so many people not configure something correctly, or something gets warped, or there's a glitch in the system, and then they use this landing page and no leads are captured because the landing page was broken. So make sure you click on it, and it looks like it's looking pretty good, except for, oh, that's the content block that I put in on there. So we'll just ignore that. All right. So I know that was long-winded, but that is kind of our first step. Now let's head over to the campaigns. Now that we're in the campaigns, if you've never run a Facebook ad campaign before, or an ad campaign for that matter, you're going to want to come over to payments right here and put in your payment method. Now, as a paid ad campaign states, it is paid for. So you are going to be putting a budget in that will determine the exposure of the ad. The more money, the more exposure. So this is where you'll put the card in. You can set a card as a default so that you don't have to do this step every single time. A lot of people that get concerned, especially if they don't save their credit cards on websites, you know, Command, you're the only one that has the login information for Command, so it is safe. Totally up to you though, but you will need a card in here in order to move forward. So let's pretend I have a card in here. And just as another preface before we go through any further, the reason I don't have a card in here is because I do most of my advertising on my team leader's command, so that all the leads that because we're mainly trying to bring new talent to our market center, all the leads go directly into his pipeline so that he's able to work with them. I myself am actually not a licensed real estate salesperson, so I'm actually not advertising listings myself. I'm helping people do that. So I'm going to hit create a new campaign up here, and we're going to do social ad paid. So the difference between the two, this is just a regular old organic post. No money is being pushed towards it or allocated to it in order to help its exposure. That's just going out to the people that follow you. This is the one where we're going to be paying for that exposure. Just like we did with the landing page, I'm going to name this the address so that if this performs really well and I want to run it again before my open house next weekend, I can do that easily. City. And so the goal here, we're going to do advertise listing. We've got different goals here that you can choose from. So you can run ads to attract listings. You can run ads for general brand awareness, or if you're doing an event of some sort. In my experience with Facebook ad campaigns, I see the best return on listings itself. And it makes sense. You know, if you're trying to attract listings and you're offering your services as being able to help someone calculate their home value, that's not as attractive as a tangible product like a home where you can see the photos. So that's generally why we think that those perform better. That doesn't mean that the other goals we don't see good return from. We do. This one we just see a better return on investment, if that makes sense. And then where are we going to run our campaign? We're going to run this one on Facebook. You can run your campaigns on Instagram. I think Twitter is still up and coming. Personally, I've seen the best in the ads that I've built with my agents. I see the better results from Facebook. So I'd rather spend my money here where I'm seeing a better return than kind of divvy up my money between the two. But again, personal preference. I do get this question a lot. People say, but I have, 700 followers on Instagram and only 2 people on my Facebook business page. That actually doesn't matter when you're running an ad campaign, because remember, we're not hitting the people that follow you. We're hitting people based on a geographical location. So you could have 0 followers and still have a good campaign as long as it's built correctly. So I'm going to hit Setup Campaign, and Command is super intuitive because it's opening up the section over here to pull my listing. If this was my listing, I'd be able to see it right here, hit select, and we'd be able to get up and running. Since it's not, I have an extra step. In my market, in my state, in order to run an ad for another agent's listing, you need to have written consent from the listing agent. So in this circumstance, when I'm teaching my agents, I usually say to them, all right, make sure you have your email handy from that listing agent saying that you're able to run this ad, because we want to have, that paper trail giving us that credit. I'm not sure what your rules and regulations are on that, but that's just what we have here. So just like before, we're going to pop in the MLS number. And here it is. And we'll hit select. All right, so the left side of our screen is where we're going to be doing our building, and the right side is our preview. So like I said, we're able to toggle between the mobile view and the web feed, because obviously we don't know where the consumer is actually going to see this ad. So this is the reason that I brought up Facebook before. So we see Keller Williams, we see text, we see photo, we see button. We head to Facebook, we see company, we see text, we see photo, we see button. So it's the same thing. So it's kind of good to have that visual cue. And this page is reactive. So as you edit over here on the left, the right side is going to edit. So one of the things that I do when it comes to creating text for your listing or for your listing ad campaign is I go back to a phrase that my high school chorus teacher used to tell us. And it's a silly phrase. It is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Sounds kind of mean, but think about when you're on Facebook and when you're at the end of your day, you're watching Netflix and you're just scrolling through your news feed. If you see an ad that has a whole ton of text, let's see if I can find anything. See, I don't see much. You'll notice the trend. We've got a small amount of text here. But if I were to come across an ad in that leisure time of mine that had, 3 sentences, you'd probably lose me in those 3 sentences, even though I'm interested in marketing and real estate. It's too much reading. They don't want to work. The consumer is lazy by nature, so we need to adhere our marketing to that. So you may have written the most beautiful, listing description ever on MLS, but we're going to get rid of it because we want to just get the most attention grabbing information for that specific listing into the text here. So it's important, especially if this is not your listing, to do a little bit of research. Make sure you really know the ins and outs of this property so that you can market it correctly. So for instance, like if you had a property that had a crazy amount of space, like a really high square footage, maybe you would do something like the amount of space in this colonial is out. I've had agents do this one, and then they throw in little space emojis, which is kind of fun to kind of, theme your marketing. And this is going to grab someone's attention. So I'd probably do a sentence or 2 at most. You'll see you also have a character limit here of 250. which you'll get to 250 pretty quickly. They also mentioned that 125 characters or less is what they recommend. That's because when someone sees the ad on the mobile app, it actually will get cut off after 125 characters. So keep that in mind. So I did a little research on this property. This property is pretty cool. It was built in 1873. It was one of the first 10 homes built in Garden City. So that's pretty cool. I think that that's something that I should definitely market because it could speak to someone specifically that's interested in history or architecture. So I want to make sure I incorporate something about that. There are also a ton of other selling features to this house, but I want the photos to speak for themselves because they're pretty spectacular. So for my main copy, I'm going to say, built in 1873, this architectural, which is not the easiest thing to spell. So if you're wondering what's checking architectural masterpiece, is that not a word?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Architectural masterpiece. And before I continue my sentence, I'm going to go down to my little smiley face down here and grab some emojis. It is so silly, but emojis do make a huge difference when it comes to marketing. People really do perform and act well when they see emojis. So I just said masterpiece. I'm gonna grab the little paint canvas thing like this. I know this isn't art, but masterpiece, that's what I think of at least. So this architectural masterpiece would be the perfect place to call home. And then I'll grab a little house emoji. So very short and sweet and to the point. I'm definitely under that 90 or 125 suggestion. If you're seeing that there's some suggestions in here, I don't think that that makes sense personally. I have Grammarly on my Google Chrome to check my grammar as I write. I do all the marketing for my office, and you know, we're all human, we make mistakes. So I like to have Grammarly kind of check my spelling and grammar as I go, but I think that Grammarly is actually wrong here, but we'll see. All right, so for the headline, I use the same headline on every single ad campaign that I run, and every ad campaign that I run seems to perform well, and I have to attribute it to partially to this headline. Again, we're trying to keep it simple. Some people, if they have specifics like open house this weekend, fine, that's great. But this is what I do every time, and I do see a good return. So when you're marketing a property, we want to instill the feeling of fear of missing out, or FOMO, in the consumer. We want to make them feel like if they don't click this learn more button right now, they're missing out on the best opportunity of their life. So this property won't last, coupled with the fun little marketing phrasing up here and the beautiful photos, is going to push the person to click this learn more button. So again, I use this literally almost every time. And then command is very helpful, as you guys probably know in other aspects of the system. You can shuffle through description suggestions. You could be coming home to this, schedule a private tour with me today, view photos and videos of this home. So if you wanted to use one of these, you would just hit use suggestion and it would pop in here. I have one that I like a little bit better. I say schedule a private or virtual. And before I say virtual, or after I say virtual, I grab a little phone. Or with me today. Now, we all know that the world has been a very crazy place in the last 12 months, or 14 months really. And there are still people that, even though things are getting better, knock on wood, in some areas, some people are still uncomfortable leaving their homes. The last thing I want is for a consumer that's on the edge thinking about this property, seeing that they can schedule a tour to see it in person and have that deter them from clicking learn more. I want to make sure that anybody, no matter what their circumstances, knows that they can see this home and get into this home and make it theirs, which is why I include the virtual tour in that schedule a private tour with me today. Does that make sense? I definitely recommend incorporating that, especially in just your general marketing, not necessarily an ad campaign. Let people know that the access to this home can go virtual if need be. We want to make sure people feel comfortable. And of course, we need to make sure that the text that we've just laid out does not contain misleading content, content that implies personal attributes, adult or political content. So as we build the ad, we're going to send it to Facebook to get approved before it runs. And my colleague has had ads come back that were rejected. And one of the reasons that they were rejected is because maybe they included something about a bar, or there was a picture of a bar. And that could be just New York State, but we're not allowed to show pictures of bars and wine glasses in our photos or anything like that. So make sure you're checking over your stuff to make sure there's no adult or misleading content. And you can also open this link in a new tab. It'll open up Facebook's advertising rules, and you can see all of their prohibited content information. All right, so I'm going to save my text, and we'll see that it's popped in over here. Before I move to the next section, I am going to look at it in the mobile view, and I think it looks pretty good. Any questions so far? Oh, I see a chat.
Nothing so far.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. So next we're going to do the media, which is kind of the fun part, I think. Well, it's all fun. So we can choose up to 5 photos when we market through Facebook ad campaigns. I recommend using all 5 if you have more than 5 photos. People want to see as much of it as they can. So use as many as you can, which is 5. I used to say, leave something to be desired, only put a couple, but I wasn't seeing a good return. And then I started adding 5 photos, and suddenly I was seeing a lot more leads, especially with a property like this, where I've got really nice photos. We want to flaunt that. We want people to see it. So I'm going to keep the exterior. I think that's a great photo to start with, a great photo to have in this little carousel that we're going to build. And then we're going to hit add more. And so here are the photos of this home. And so let's think about the photos that will really, or the rooms that will really win someone over. Kitchen's probably one of the first ones that we'd think of, and it's got a pretty great kitchen. Master bedroom's another one. And then after those 2, a living space would be good, and any special features in this home that you wouldn't see somewhere else. So for instance, I know that this property has an in-ground pool in the backyard that's heated. In Garden City, that's not really known. Not a lot of homes have pools. So the fact that we can show that photo would be great. Another thing that this home has, which is really cool, is they have this rooftop terrace that has 360 views of Garden City, which is a pretty beautiful town, if I do say so myself. So I definitely want to show that one. So I'm going to keep this first one. So that's 1 down. The next one I'm going to grab is the kitchen, 2. And we'll hit preview and crop. Now, if your photo does not fit this blue box, you are able to move it up and down, or you can change the ratio if maybe you took the photo on your phone or something like that. But if you had a photographer take it, chances are the wide version will be the best for you. I like to kind of bump this up just a little bit because I want them to be able to see the floor, but I also want them to get the depth of the room by seeing the ceiling too. So that looks pretty good to me. I mean, I don't need to see the bottom of these bar stools. I think it's pretty clear that they're bar stools. And I'm going to hit save image. This now creates a little carousel on the ad over on the right. So remember before when I was talking about the consumer sitting while they're watching Netflix on Facebook and, they get distracted? While they sit on this ad, this is also going to slide on a 6 to 8 second timer so that it will get their attention back to the screen, which is pretty cool too. All right, and let's just add some more. I'm going to do the master, which it also has a sauna. This house is pretty cool. So I'm going to do the master, and I'm going to get, that looks pretty good. I want to make sure I get a good amount of the fireplace in the master. And now I'm going to move outside. So I'm going to head over to the pool. And now for the pool, I'm probably going to lose the top portion of the house, which, stinks because it's beautiful up there, but I want to make sure that people just see how much yard space there is around this pool. And we'll hit save image. And then finally, I think the coolest thing about this house personally is this rooftop 360 view. So we're going to come here and pop that in. So here are the photos. We can see what they look like over here. And then of course, we're going to look over in the mobile carousel as well. And this is looking pretty good to me so far. All right, I see a chat. Let me take a look. How do you get the text to change with each photo in the carousel? So you don't. The text is going to stay the same throughout. If you see that on an ad on Facebook, that could be done through another program, maybe on Facebook ads themselves. The reason that we want to do ad campaigns in Command rather than on Facebook Ads Manager itself is because the leads that are captured from the Command ad are going to be pulled directly into your Command database. So it's a lot stronger, because if you were doing an Ads Manager ad on Facebook, you would then have to bring those leads over to Command anyway, if you're using Command for your database. I hope that kind of answers your question. Here in Command, we can't change the text per photo, but I don't think that that's a big deal personally. I don't think that that makes a huge, huge difference. All right, so it is requiring your Market Center's logo. I do see that this feature sometimes doesn't work perfectly. So I have my Market Center logo in my marketing profile. It's not here right now, so I'm just going to quickly grab it from my computer. I always recommend saving that stuff on your desktop, laptop, whatever you're working on, so that if this does happen, you don't have to stop everything that you're doing to go and download it from KW Connect. I do just have to look through a bunch of files. So give me 1 second. All right, let's try this one. Okay, cool. All right, so it just popped in. Looks like it's getting cut off a little bit, which is a little weird. Maybe I'm in the square version. I'm just going to quickly delete my photos and pop them back in and see if that's the case. I think it might be. As I do this, are there any questions on the setup so far? Yeah, there we go.
Nothing in person.
Perfect. Anybody at home? Or, you know, wherever you're working, you could be not at home. I can't tell you how many times I have agents that are on the Zooms in the car. I'm like, pay attention to the road. Don't look at me. It happens.
Yeah.
So we did the kitchen, the master. So this looks like it's just a little glitch in the system right now, because we are choosing the wide version, but it's still popping up in the preview as the square. I don't think that that's going to happen in the ad. So I'm still confident in moving forward. If you weren't, you could always send an email to like Scott Lorraine Marketing and say, hey, I'm seeing something funny. Send them a screenshot and see if they have any solution if they tell you to hold off. But I don't think that this is going to last. I think it's just in the preview. So we're gonna move forward. Thanks for your patience. And we're gonna save ad media. All right, so now we're getting into the Facebook ad. And so if you haven't been listening this whole time, this is when you definitely want to turn up those hearing aids and make sure you're listening, because there are some major pitfalls that you could make in this next section that will make or break your ad. There is specifically one thing that you could choose that could make it that you have 1,300 views and 20 leads, or 1,300 views and 0 leads. So make sure you pay attention. So we're going to configure, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to choose the business page that this is on. I should have mentioned this when we first started, but in order to run a Facebook ad campaign, it does need to be on a business page. It's not legal to solicit business on a personal, so the ad needs to originate, any post for your business needs to originate on that business page that is then connected to Command. So because my page is connected to Command, I'm going to run it like so and choose my page, and you'll see that it rebrands over here to my little headshot and my name right here. The next section, and this is that really, really big, most important thing that you need to take away from today, is how we want the lead to be captured. There's 2 options: use Facebook lead generation form and use a site or landing page. 99.99999% of the time, you want to use this one. I should say 100%, but I don't want to, you know, tell you something and then have it not return. The reason that we're going to choose this one is because this means that when someone sees this ad on Facebook and they click learn more or whatever the button says, the name, phone number, and email address associated with their Facebook account, so my personal Facebook, will be captured by this button and sent to this company. So if they did it through Ads Manager, it'd be sent to Facebook. But because ours is coming from Command, it's going to capture all of that and put it into Command as a new contact for you within 15 seconds of the person hitting learn more or apply now or whatever button we decide to make it say. So we want to choose this one. The other option would mean that it would be up to the consumer to then go to the landing page when they click learn more and fill this out. 9 times out of 10, the consumer is going to X out right then and there. So you'll have that 1,300 reach, or I should say 13,000 would be a more impressive number. I think that's what I meant to say. Anyway, you'd have that high reach, but have no return on it because nobody filled this out. I had an ad campaign run with an agent 2 weeks ago, and she built it on her own after building a couple with me. And she had 25,000 people see it in our area, which is fantastic, and 0 leads. And 9 times out of 10, when I sit down with an agent to run a diagnostic after an ad completes to see how it performed, that's the reason it didn't perform well. So always choose this first option. It is the default option too. Make sense? Cool. So for the button call to action label, what it says in this little button over here, we have 3 options: learn more, sign up, apply now. I think learn more makes the most sense in our industry. You know, we're telling them about this beautiful property. We want them to click to learn more. And then finally, this button has 2 purposes. Not only does it capture the lead and put it into command for us, it also opens up this beautiful little landing page that we made so that they're literally going to learn more. So we need to attach the landing page that we made to that button, which we do right here. All of your websites and landing pages will pull in here. So like, this is my agent site homepage. This is my download my app page. So they're all here for you to grab. So if you did decide, I can't remember who said it before, maybe Stacy, she said to use the website, you can use the website, no problem. But I'm gonna head over to the landing page that we built. And sorry, I have a lot. There she is. And then we'll click it. And here it is. And make sure that it checks off here because we want to make sure that it does, you know, work. Now, so this is where it's pretty cool. And I'm actually going to stop my share to actually physically show you guys something. So the way that a Facebook ad campaign works, and I hope that you can see this, is we're going to tell command, all right, we want to target people that live within this circle. So it's a terrible circle, but we want to target within this circle. That's great, right? We're making sure that the people that are seeing the ad live somewhere around this property. That's great. Let's take it one step further. Because of our partnership with Facebook, we're able to use their data and algorithms to target people specifically based on their interests. So their habits on the internet. So Facebook is able to do something called data mining. And data mining means that when you shop online, like we saw the store that came up on my news feed, I shopped there last week. Facebook's able to see that I shopped there. And this week they targeted me for one of their ads because they already know that I just purchased something there. So chances are I'm going to want to purchase something again. If you think about it from the consumer's perspective, it's pretty scary. Keep your business person brain on. And this is pretty cool. So we're going to take this circle that's already a pretty good start. And we're going to say we want to target people that are looking at Zillow and Realtor and Homes.com and are searching house hunting and mortgage calculator, so that the people that are in those specific habits see it more often than just, you know, Joe Schmo that just lives in this circle. Does that make sense? And the more habits that they check off from what we choose, the more that they'll actually see it. So that's what we're going to do right now. All right. So we're going to always click use custom settings, and we're going to target a custom audience. You could also target your database, but in order to do this, the email that is in the contact card in your database needs to be the same email that that person uses on Facebook. So for instance, I have a throwaway email for my Facebook account that I never check. It's got like, I don't know, 300,000 different emails in there that I've never looked at because I don't want to look at it. It's kind of like my spam folder. So I would get targeted via that email. And so it wouldn't really work in that sense. I don't think I explained that very well. So if you have questions, please ask me. So you can do that if you want, if you have your database set up accordingly. Target a custom audience is the best when you're trying to generate leads outside of your sphere of influence. All right, so for the location, we're going to choose Garden City, New York. Now you guys, you don't have the same geographical issue that we do here on Long Island. So I'll just show you on this little thing right here. A 20-mile radius of Garden City looks like this. And you may have to do this if you know you're in a bordering town stateside, from state to state. But because we are an island, we do end up hitting a good amount of water. So if I was trying to run an ad campaign and I wanted to target 50 miles, I would get a ton of water over here. And that's kind of dead space because nobody lives there. So very often in my market, we have to choose a different location, maybe that has a little more land. So like we're thicker over here on Long Island. Maybe I'd choose one of these so that, yeah, I'm still going to get water here, but I'm still hitting the majority of the area. Garden City is not too bad because we're pretty central to the island. But, you know, when I have people that are working on the north or south shore of Long Island, it's kind of a different story. Another thing to take into consideration is if we zoom in, this 20-mile radius, whoopsies, of Garden City hits into New Jersey and also just barely into Connecticut. So that's something that you guys should also keep in mind, especially if you're in one of those areas that borders another state. So you may need to adjust and move it over so that you avoid those places. But that's just good for thought. And this is a really good website, radiusmap.traveltime.com. I use this every single time I run an ad because of our location. It's important for me to physically see how much water I'm going to be wasting my money in. Unfortunately, that's just the cards we were dealt over here. But we also do get beaches, so that's always a plus. So I'm going to keep it as it is, 20 miles of Garden City. And now I'm going to do that expert targeting and add those interests, those habits that people have on the internet. Now, remember before we said KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We're going to apply a similar principle over here. So there used to be two schools of thought when it came to choosing the interests in this section on command. Some people said, choose everything on this interest list. There are 180 options. Choose all 180, you'll hit every single type of person in the area. However, some of these habits, for instance, there's ones about acting and car sales. I could be hitting people that are nowhere near purchasing. For instance, I could be hitting a 16-year-old that does theater in high school. And that's a waste of my money because he's not purchasing a home anytime soon, and definitely not the home that I'm advertising. So I would rather pick things that are more specific to real estate itself so that I can ensure that the person that I'm targeting at least has some sort of interest in the real estate market. Because like I said, when we first started, they may not be looking to buy this property specifically, but it could turn into a different type of transaction for me. Maybe they're looking to sell. Maybe they have a friend. Maybe they're interested in getting their licenses themselves. You know, you never know. So these are the 4 that I always choose. I would recommend not going over 10, any more than 10, and we see it kind of getting a little too specific. So I always choose Zillow. Zillow is where people go to search for properties. So if they're looking at Zillow in my area, I want them seeing my ad. I'm also going to do Trulia. I'm going to do homes.com and realtor.com. Those are my staple 4. One thing that you can do as you build these ads, like I said, it's kind of, there is no formula. You kind of have to play around and move things around, is, you know, you could split, let's say I wanted to spend $50 total on this ad campaign. Let's say I copy this ad campaign. So I've got 2 copies of it and I choose different interest fields for both. And I split 25-25. I can then watch them perform and see which ad is performing better. If everything is the exact same except for the interest field, I'll know the effect of the interests on that ad. Does that make sense? So you can really, really compartmentalize this. So if you're a data person like me, this will be really helpful for you. Some of the other ones that I have a lot of agents choose are mortgage calculator. It's a big one. House hunting. Credit score. And real estate investment or real estate. But again, I'm only going to do the 4 because I want to keep it KISS, keep it simple, stupid. There we go. So those are my interests that I'm going to work with. I'll save my ad here. And that ad, this section doesn't really change anything here except for my information. So we're good to go. The last section is the duration and the budget. On average, we recommend a 7 to 10 day ad campaign, spending anywhere between $3 to $5 a day. So that would be $30 to $50 total per ad campaign. You can bump things up and bump them down, and you can see that it's being adjusted like so. The earliest that you can run an ad is always going to be tomorrow. So we can't start an ad today because Facebook is going to have to look at our ad to make sure that it follows all of their rules and regulations. So I'm going to run this ad campaign for 10 days and I'm going to spend $50. which would mean $5 a day. Think about the budget and the budget of your ad campaign kind of like a ball on the ramp. The ramp is your budget, the ball is your ad, and the pins at the bottom of the ramp are the people that it's going to hit. If you've got a steeper ramp, a steeper budget, the ad is going to move a lot faster and hit a lot more pins. If you've got a more flat ad or a more flat budget, the ad's going to move a little slower and maybe not hit as many. So that is personal preference. It's your money, it's your business, you're investing in yourself. That's your call when it comes to spending. That's just what we see performing the best. Okay, any questions on that? How do you get oh, whoops, I already read that. Do you find that starting an ad on a Friday or running it over 2 weeks gives more leads? Great question. So I would recommend starting an ad, especially if it's a listing ad campaign, on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, because that's when the person, the consumer, is looking at Zillow and all of those other sites to see what properties they want to go see for open houses. So I would do Wednesday or Thursday. And I don't see a better return if you're running them longer, like 2 weeks or 2 weekends, as you said here. I usually run the ads for 10 days. I think 7 days sometimes can be a little too short. So I do 10 days, and depending on where I hit, I'll get 2 weekends out of that. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So the last step is just to hit publish campaign. Command's going to confirm the card that you want to charge, and then you'd hit create campaign. If at any point throughout this process, because it does take some time, you need to step away, make sure you hit save as draft. If you don't, you'll lose everything. So that is the ad. What I now want to do is I want to go into one of my agent's command systems to show you what it looks like, what the metrics look like when you're running ads, so that we can see what, our return on investment is. So don't worry, I got permission to go into his command. This agent, his name, actually you guys should follow him on Instagram. I'll put his handle in the chat bar. He's very active on social media. His name is Chris Your Realtor. He's one of our launch coaches. Chris Reimers is his name, but Chris Your Realtor is his handle. And he runs tons of ad campaigns, and he's one of my biggest advocates for this part of the system. So I'm going to just pop in his information. All right, cool. And he's actually running an ad right now. So you can see in our little notifications, lead form captured, lead form captured. So we're seeing some returns already on the ad that he just started. So I'm going to head over to his campaigns. And so he started his ad yesterday, and he's only spent $2.54. Keep that in mind. We'll go to paid ads. So when your ad campaign is published, when you send it to Facebook, you're not going to get a notification saying, hooray, your ad campaign has been approved. It's just going to start running. If your ad is rejected for whatever reason, that is when you will get some sort of notification, and it will say rejected in big letters right here. You'll be able to hover over it, and it will tell you exactly why it didn't perform well. As it runs, you'll be able to see up here, I call this a live ticker, to show you how it's performing. So over the past 30 days, Chris has had 1,900 impressions, 27 leads captured, and $27 total. So that's $1 a lead. It's pretty cool. We can then see the breakdown per ad campaign. So one thing that you'll notice, especially if you're looking to run all different types of ads, is you're going to want to pay attention to what type of ads perform the best for you. So just so you guys know, duration is obviously the duration of the ad. CPM is cost per 1,000 view. CPC is cost per click, and CPLC is cost per lead capture. So this is the one I pay the most attention to. I look at them all, but this one's the big one. So if I was Chris, I'd be going through this and saying, okay, let's take a look at how these have performed. Okay, 36 leads. What type of ad was this? Attract buyers. What did I do? A down payment assistance. So if I was Chris and I was budgeting out my next quarter, what I want to allocate towards marketing, I'd want to make sure that I maybe run this again, especially if he had, a high conversion ratio from the calls that he made from these leads that were captured. Let's look up here. There was an ad campaign. Here you go. So this one, $25 for 551 South Terrace Place. So this was a listing, and you can tell because it says advertised listing. He ran it for 10 days, 1,300 impressions, 111 clicks, 20 leads at $1.25 a piece. The ad that he's currently running, we are right here. It's this one, the Kew Gardens one. 7 days, so a little shorter. It's only been running since yesterday. 63 impressions, 14 clicks, 3 leads at $2.54. And this is going to perform better and better, or actually cost per lead capture is 85 cents a piece. And this is going to get better and better as this ad runs. Does that make sense? That's why this is super important to look at. So when I sit down with an agent that finishes an ad and they say, I want to see how it performed, what I do with them is I go to the ad campaign, I click on these 3 dots and I hit duplicate campaign and I hit duplicate and customize. If you're the agent and you want to just run this ad again because it did so well, you could hit duplicate and run and it would just go. You'd have to confirm your card, but it would just go. If you want to look at the diagnostic, if you want to figure out what could have potentially provided that result that you had, you're going to duplicate and customize. So me as the Market Center tech trainer, I'm going to sit with Chris and we'll walk through the entire thing and we'll figure out, okay, well, maybe, you know, your wording, actually wording is a good size here. We're good. Let's see photos. Photos look good too. Let's look, and this is usually where the biggest conversation happens. Obviously, if they choose this one, that's where the majority of our issues are going to be. For this one, I see that he chose a good amount of expert targeting fields. If you get too specific with expert targeting fields, sometimes it can negatively affect the ad. So if this didn't perform well for Chris, I would say to him, maybe we should shrink this down, or maybe next time we run an ad like this, we'll split your budget between 2 ads and choose different expert targeting fields for each. So yes, you do have to do a little bit of work to kind of master this part of command. But again, you're investing in yourself financially. So why wouldn't you invest that time to make the money worth it? I'm actually going to delete this because I don't want to mess up his system. All right. Do we have any questions on this page or in general? All right, cool. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys again. Hello. All right. So just by a show of hands, oh, I guess I can't see most of you.
Yeah, the numbers in here.
If you could put in the text box, in the chat box, how many of you have run a Facebook ad campaign before? Just put a yes.
6. 6 in person.
6 in person, okay. And they're coming in. Okay. Okay, so 10 people have run Facebook ad campaigns before. That's great. How many of you saw some mistakes or changes that could help you from this training? And we'll do the yes thing again. Okay, great.
Again, 6.
Great. Okay. So, and you know what? That's important. You know, like I said, there is no exact formula. So you may have had an okay return. Your next ad could be even better if you start incorporating some of these changes. And don't take my words for Bible. Look at other trainings, look at other people's ads that they run, attend those classes with Command Your Conversion or on KW Connect. Every market is a little different. So everyone's marketing is going to be a little bit different. This is just what I've found to be tried and true for my office, my market right now, and I think could be really beneficial for you to start incorporating. Do you guys have any questions?
I do have a question, Sarah.
Sure.
So are they, so you get these leads and then it's going into command. So you're putting them on a nurture. And then I'm assuming you're calling them as well. What kind of results are they getting? Because we've been kind of having, I don't know, it's been a lot of work for not a lot happening. So I guess what's the expectation of what these leads are? Like what's coming out of it? Like, should you expect it to be more of a nurture down the line, or should you expect to see some business sooner than later?
That's a great question. I think you should make your expectations very flexible because every consumer that interacts is going to have a different motive. So you may have the same first step for every single lead that comes in, which in my opinion should be a phone call. And from there, from that initial phone call or text or whatever it turns into, then I would branch off and maybe do, you know, a 6-month nurture on someone or a bi-weekly neighborhood nurture on someone that's more specific. Or I would schedule an appointment to do a buyer consult with someone depending on our conversation. So it's going to look different for everyone. It does take time to nurture and follow up with these leads, but the fortune is in the follow-up. You need to determine what the best follow-up method is for that person if they are interested. And listen, it's going to happen. There are going to be people that you call and you're like, thank you so much. And they're like, I don't think I clicked on anything. And that's that. It stinks. There's still people though, and people have to live somewhere. So keep them in your database, keep them tagged, make a tag that says not interested in ad, something like that, to give yourself that trigger so that you know at some point they're in there, because at some point that person's going to need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, most likely. And so they could become a transaction later on. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah, no problem. What other
That
questions?
question in person.
Sure.
It's not so much a question, just a comment. And I did learn today,
Yeah.
but I ran my Facebook ads, and just what I wanted to share for listings. I'm hitting your numbers that you talk about. The thing that I do differently is I only put 2 pictures on, and I don't give the address or the amount that it's for sale, or pick more than 2 pictures. And I say, so I'll say like the home is in Prior Lake, it's for sale, you know, coming soon for this date, and we're gonna have a open house on this date. But if that person is interested, then I go hit learn more to get an address, price, and internal or exterior pictures. And then that's how I'm getting all my leads, because they don't have enough information. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the leave something to be desired method for sure. And you know, I did do that when I first started here with Keller Williams. That was my first MO when it came to ads. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to show people like squat. I'm going to show them the very minimum to just give them a taste so that they have to go back for more. I was noticing when I did that, because I was, you know, following my metrics, I was noticing that I was having a dip in my ads. And one day I decided to split my funds, and I did one ad that had 2 photos and one ad that had 5 photos, and the 5 photos was performing better. And I kind of, you know, it really does depend, and it could change for you. So it's just something to monitor. But for sure, for absolutely sure, do not give out the address, the price on the initial ad itself, because then they don't have to click. If it's way out of their price point, you'll lose them. They're gone. But, you know, if it's out of their price point, but you could work with them as a buyer's agent in the future, you still want that lead. So I would never, ever put in the address or the price in that description section.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. What are the, what options are there for the destination URL? Great question. So your agent site homepage is a good one so that they can start their search process. Your app is a good one, so you can put your app link in there, because the app link, if they're on Facebook looking at the ad, automatically when they click learn more, their app store is going to open to push them to download the app. Another good one, the app is also good because if they're on their computer, it'll open up the app store where they can put in their phone number and get a code texted to them to download the app. You could do, let's say that your home has a virtual tour or a video tour. The learn more button could be that link, that YouTube link, that Vimeo link. In general, I try to steer clear of doing video marketing within a paid ad campaign, because on average, the consumer spends 3 to 7 seconds watching a video, and they don't even turn the sound on most times. So I don't want to waste my money on that. I'd rather get them in the learn more and show them that video to show them that production value that I offer and what this property has to offer. Let's think, what other ones? If you're super active on social media on your Facebook, you could link your Facebook business page. It would open up to the Facebook business page. Initially, when I first started at KW, that was always my choice when I did ad campaigns, because I was thinking as a consumer myself, I hated when I clicked on an ad and it took me out of Facebook, because I wanted to be in Facebook. That's why I'm there. But again, I was seeing low return. I made that switch and it seemed to get a little better. So there are tons of options. You just want to make sure wherever you're sending them, 1, is branded to you, 2, has content on it, and 3, that it's working. So if you haven't customized your agent site page at all yet, and it still has like the click to enter body text or whatever that you see in the Kelly ad, the Kelly setup, don't use your agent site, because we don't want to send someone somewhere that's incomplete. All right. What other questions?
Go ahead, Chase.
Do you have any copy or whatnot, or good things to say for ads to attract, to buy investment properties? Like, I'm an investor and I want homeowners that have distressed properties. Ads for that.
Did you hear that?
I think it was the question. He's a buyer, he's an investor, so he's trying to
So he's an investor and he was looking for maybe ad copy to possibly attract people with maybe distressed or properties to have him purchase as an investor, right?
I personally don't have anything written out. What I would recommend if you're not already in it is the Command Your Conversion Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, sorry, there go my lights. The Command Your Conversion Facebook group has over, I think, like 30,000 agents in it around the country and around the world. And it's a place for you guys to mastermind with other agents and other, market-centered tech trainers, team leaders, people using Command at a high level to get suggestions. Whenever I'm stumped on something in Command or I'm looking for exposure on a part of Command that I haven't touched in a while, or I just need a refresher, Command Your Conversion is one of my first spots to go, because that's a very niche thing that you're mentioning and it's important. And I guarantee you that there's someone in Command Your Conversion that has the best script for you to use. So I don't mean to push it off to them, but I think that you should go there. That would at least be my suggestion and what I would do with an agent that's sitting with me today.
I'll post something. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else, guys?
Sammy, this is Stacy. Can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, for us and our team, we've been doing ads for about a year. And usually for listings, we see 40 to 60 leads in a good market. And the biggest problem is that having been doing them now for a year, I've noticed that for every ad we run, probably 10 to 15 of those leads are what I call repeat offenders. So they're people who have entered like spam phone numbers and email addresses for themselves. So when you try to reach out to them, the number doesn't work and the email is a hard bounce if we try to email them. And so it's really just like the quality of the leads has been our problem more so than the quantity, which, like I said, it took a year to figure out that we were getting 25% of our leads were just kind of non-existent.
Yeah, and that's definitely frustrating for sure. Trust me, I hear you on that. And I see that myself when I run ads with my team leader. The thing that I tell myself is that all different marketing tools out there, all different companies have that same hurdle where they're getting these fake numbers. You could run an ad on Zillow where, people think Zillow when they think about real estate, and you're still going to have that same issue of it's a fake phone number, it's a fake email, it's an email that they never check. It's going to happen. I try to have my agents focus on the, if you have 40 and 15 are bad, focus on, I'm not good at math, but the other ones that are not, fake numbers. And you mentioned repeat offenders. Maybe you build a custom smart plan for repeat offenders that have a 90-day nurture on them and it just repeats. So that if for some reason one day they do decide to look at what you're offering them, they still have the means to contact you. We never want someone to fall out of the bottom of our pot. We still want to continuously be nurturing people unless they've explicitly told us never talk to me again. But if it's someone, that you're having trouble reaching with, what does it hurt to put them on a nurture like that? Because, it's a set it and forget it. Command's going to do the communicating for you. And if there's any response, that's when you get to shine. So that would maybe be my suggestion in that regard.
Yeah, I think the thing with the repeat offenders, though, is that they don't have valid contact info. So we don't even put them on a smart plan because we don't have any way to reach them at all because the phone numbers are bad and the email numbers are bad.
So
we leave them in Command so that they're flagged as spam so that we don't continue to reach them. But
what you could also try to do, it does take extra work, is, you have their name from Facebook. You could look them up on Facebook and see if they provide different information.
Well, I think their names are fake too, because they usually have some profanity inserted in them.
Interesting. I haven't had that one happen. Usually it's a name and it's just, a throwaway email or phone number. Yeah, that's weird.
And also just remember, it's all about a numbers game. The more leads you have, the better you're off. And even if that means some of those leads are kind of pooey.
Yeah, and the other thing is, people get so attracted by the conversion, the return on investment that people see on these ad campaigns, 2.6 million at $1.90 a piece. Sounds beautiful, right? the work doesn't stop there. You still need to shine in your follow-up and your conversations with them afterwards. If you just collect all these leads, sorry, potential spam. If you just collect all these leads and do nothing with them, that's just a waste of your money, as much as if you were to go to Zillow and spend $450. So you need to make sure that your follow-up is strong. I had an agent in, I'd say August, who ran an ad campaign, had 83 leads come in. That was great. And he's really good at his follow-up. He's got scripts, he's got objections ready. And he was able to convert 63 of those people into actual deals or brought them into our company because they were interested in real estate. So you need to prepare yourself for anything that whoever picks up the phone could come at you with anything. They could say, they could not answer, like we saw with Stacy. They could not be real. They could say, I didn't click on anything, leave me alone. And they could also say, I'm actually interested in getting my license myself. I'm actually interested in whatever the case may be. So you need to be ready for whatever that response is so that you can keep the conversation going, because that's still a win in my book. If you get a rental lead, even though maybe you don't want to do a rental, it's still a transaction, it's still money.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
I think that is all we got.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. If you're ever interested in hearing more about what My Market Center is doing, if you want to see more training, we run a program that I was mentioning to Sammy. We built a Command Bootcamp. It's a 3-week intensive program where we go through the entire Command system, all 9,000 features in 3 weeks. It's a big program, pretty popular. We're currently running it right now. So if you're ever interested in hearing more about that and how you could potentially get involved, I'm going to put my email in the chat box down below. And of course, I would not be a marketing coordinator if I didn't put in my office's social media. So both on Instagram and Facebook, we are KW Greater Nassau, and it's right there. So if you want to see what we're putting out there, if you're interested in, Keller's got a great culture of sharing and communication. If you like a design that I've put together, DM us, let us know, we can talk about it. We can get you into a training that you hear about from My Market Center on our social media. We're all here to help each other. And that's why I'm super grateful that we had this little connection here. I think it's pretty cool.
By the way, you were one of 3 that responded on the Facebook post, and you're the only one to actually follow through. So first and foremost, thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you in June.
Yes, for a fun DocuSign training. I actually talked about you on bootcamp today.
Well, lovely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Thanks.